to a good week. Welcome.
Thanks so much.
Chris Downer, former detective Chris Downer. Thank you.
Special guest tonight.
Pleasure to be here.
Special guest. So hold on one sec.
Oh, this is real booze.
It is.
I
no, we don't fake it on this show.
I didn't know that.
So I just want to thank Mr. Burry.
That's me.
For going on some obscure website and getting, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. God bless you, Michael. This is great.
This is great. Yeah.
So, because I forget this at the end of every podcast, so now we have pillows to remind you.
Or sleep
Honey
on.
Buns, can you just collect these? Because, thanks, sweetie. Thank you.
Close. Yeah, that counts.
Oh, no, I'm good.
Yeah, no, you're fine. Yeah, okay, go. Okay.
The special guest.
Okay, so
the special treatment.
Yeah, not that special, my friend.
Special.
So we're delighted to have you, and this is really exciting for us because you were with the Toronto Police Service for 24 years.
Yep.
And you're a detective when you retired.
Yep. No, I didn't retire. Resigned.
It's retirement.
Okay.
To a better way.
Okay.
And you're going to tell us a lot about the experience, but I want to frame our discussion a little bit, and I don't want anybody to be uncomfortable. But last week on Friday, I completed a trial, and it was one of my typical cases, a sexual assault case. And there was a picture that was taken of me. Marcy took a picture when I was in the office, just drafting closing submissions, and we posted something up on Friday, which became a bit of a controversy over the weekend. And I want to use this as a context. So just bear with me. So this post was, finished a long week with closing submissions and a trial we strongly believe is a false accusation. It is vital that we continue to challenge evidence and do not give in to the fallacy that false allegations are rare. And my Twitter post specifically mentioned, finished a long week with closing submissions today on what we believe is a wrongful sexual assault charge. Very fair trial. Happy to see the court was very receptive to our submissions, and we're looking forward to what the result will be. And then...
Okay, here we go, folks.
And then I got some loving remarks. So Catherine Marshall, who's a lawyer in Toronto with a very reputable employment law firm, who I respect and is an outstanding law firm, and I assume she's a very good lawyer because she's a partner there, said, right, because there's so much to be gained by fabricating a rape allegation and blowing up your life. This post is cringe. And then when I engaged, she responded with something I didn't really understand. I had posted something saying, I disagree with you, but 70% of our firm is a female-based law firm who do the same work and worked on this file with us and was of the same opinion. And I posted something about that, and then she had said, I got triggered by something about female litigators. I really didn't understand it, and I said, I'm sorry, I don't understand your post. But she wrote back, be better, do better. So...
Sounds like a Beatles song.
Well, what does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean?
That I didn't know, but it could be a Beatles song. Yeah. And Catherine might be, and I assume she's a very bright lawyer and does a great job, and that's a great law firm. So I respect her and her opinion, and she's entitled to it. But I want to know, and the reason I frame it this way is not to call her out so much,
But you just did, so it's okay.
Well, but it's public, in Twitter. She wanted to say I'm cringe. Am I insane? Am I wrong? Because we litigate a lot of cases, and we dissect the evidence, and we have the benefit of reading it and cross-examining and doing whatever to distill the evidence and then come to a conclusion that based upon X, Y, and Z, we have a reasonable basis to believe that this is not a legitimate allegation. It's a false accusation. And in this case, we had a lot of evidence to establish motive to fabricate. So, you're an experienced investigator. I want you to talk a little bit about your past experience, why you retired from the police service.
Resigned. Let's be clear about that.
But I want to say it in a nice way. And then I want you to enlighten us about whether, if somebody's charged, does that mean they're guilty? And have you ever seen, or are there false accusations in criminal and in sexual and domestic assault cases? This is important. I want to frame this.
Of course, there's false allegations, and how I look at myself, or my view, is that if you have 5 complainants of a sexual assault, it's just as important for 4 out of the 5 to come forward as it is important for the 5th liar to be found out. And as you all know, family court, there's all kinds of stuff that's going on in which people will make a false sexual assault allegation against a spouse, just so that person can get out of the house, or sexual abuse or whatever it is. So there's 2 things in my view that you can't escape from. Child abuse allegation, a sexual assault allegation, it will destroy your life. True or false, it'll destroy your life. And I'm not saying the police in general. I'm just saying that as an investigator, you really need to do your homework.
So let me ask you this, and I don't mean to cross-examine you. Because you've covered the gambit of investigations. You started, as a regular police officer, worked your way up to CIB.
Yep.
You did internal affairs.
Yep.
I mean, you've had a very distinguished career at Toronto Police Service.
Thank you.
And then you quit because you didn't like what was going on at Toronto Police.
That's correct.
But let me just say this and ask you this. In your years of investigations, did you come to the conclusion when investigating that some sexual assault allegations were false?
Of course.
Did you come to the conclusion that some domestic allegations were false?
Of course.
Were you frustrated by the policies that were in place by government and the police service to hamper you in making a decision as an investigating officer?
No, it didn't hamper me because I had the stones. So I wasn't forced to do anything.
Say that again.
I had the stones. I wasn't forced to do. There's no such thing as a policy where you have to charge, you have to do. It's laziness. It's.
Is it laziness or is it lack of fortitude to stand up to your superiors and say, no, I'm not doing this?
Oh, exactly that.
Okay.
Exactly that. And here's what some.
Catherine, just listen carefully.
So here's what some of your guests here or lawyers may not know is there's a point where you have reasonable grounds and you lay a charge.
Break that down for a second. What does that mean? Taking a statement from a complainant?
Yeah, you take and you believe what's happening, and you have no reason to not believe it, and you lay a charge. But after that, you can actually lose your reasonable grounds. Like if you do your investigations properly, you lose your reasonable grounds. And there's a form. It used to be on jet forms. I don't know what's called these days with the police. But there's a form that I used on more than one occasion in which you write your unit commander a letter and say, I've lost my reasonable grounds and I like to have the charge withdrawn. And then they send that letter, he or she sends the letter to the Crown Attorney's office, and that's the end of that. Because I acted on good faith at the beginning. But as time went on, there's nonsense, there's lying, there's whatever's going on.
So what you're saying is once you have taken the statement and then started to do more investigation as you went along, that there's other information that comes to your light where you feel that you no longer have reasonable grounds.
Of course. And
you write to your unit commander to say, I've lost my reasonable grounds. This should be withdrawn.
That's it.
Were you frustrated with writing that?
No.
Did everybody respond appropriately to you?
Yep.
Okay.
Well. No. I'll just jump in on that.
Yeah, do.
I've been ordered to lay sexual assault charges against people. Ordered.
Explain that slowly for everybody to hear.
Very slowly.
Okay, I want to hear that.
So
Have a drink.
oh boy, I need another one. So
This is really important.
so there was one particular case I worked on. It was in 12 Division, and it was this female who reported being sexually assaulted by this older man. He was the owner of a store, and they knew each other because in her statement she said, that she spoke Italian, he spoke Italian. She went and he hugged her, but he grabbed her backside. And I took her statement, and there was just something that was off. It was just off. And she said to me, she said, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'm sorry I'm laughing.
We don't apologize
I'm
here.
laughing.
No, it's a podcast. Enjoy it.
Right? And she said, the video is playing over and over and over in my head. And I said, I think there's something wrong with your VCR. Right? Because what you're saying doesn't make any sense. And I wasn't promoted at that time. I was a constable. It's not a bad thing. And I wrote a five-page report clearing that guy because he didn't do anything wrong. He didn't do anything wrong. And my staff sergeant read it, and he ordered me to charge the guy. And I said, no. And he says, Chris, it's only a piece of paper. I said, no, I don't think it's called a piece of paper. I think it's called a Form 9. And I think you're counseling me to commit the indictable offense of swearing to a false affidavit, and I'm not doing it. So I refused to do it. And he had other detectives come in and then charge that person who eventually got let off for their charges. But it gets back to what I was saying to you to begin with. Sexual assault allegations, like, you can't run away from it. Like, it's so serious. It destroys your life.
So this is very interesting. So you had the fortitude to say...
Stones, I think.
Stones. But the fortitude to say, look, based upon the interview I've conducted, I have serious concerns about why this is not an accurate or true allegation. And you wrote a very detailed memo explaining why.
That's right.
And then for political reasons, if I can put it that way, you were ordered to do it and you said no. Then some other functionary with a detective label laid the charge.
Yeah.
So we can conclude then that the reality is there are other forces that come into play when an officer makes a decision that there's not reasonable grounds to still force a charge to be laid.
Yes.
So that's really important, and kudos to you for doing that. Talk to us a little bit more about what your frustrations were with policing, and
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm talking to you.
Yeah, sometimes. So,
Okay,
don't
go ahead.
start with me. So, what here we go. We're going to end up arm wrestling next. What consequences did you suffer from that?
That's a good point.
From
saying I'm not charging the guy.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Was your memo disclosed to the defense, or was it buried by the police?
Good question too.
Well, that I don't know. I would assume it would be buried.
I hope everybody understood that.
Yeah.
I'm sure it would be buried. And
horrible.
But here's the phrase that I just cannot stand. Let the court decide.
Let the court sort it out.
Yeah.
Can't stand it. Stop it. My job is to charge someone. That's my job. Whether they're guilty or innocent, that's the court's job. Like, they do that. But I don't jeopardize people's lives from being lazy.
But you saw your job as to investigate alleged crimes.
Yeah.
And investigation is an unbiased, objective approach.
That's correct.
And so you are to determine whether there really is reasonable grounds.
That's correct.
If not, you don't charge. That's the way you ran your business. That's the way you operated as a police officer and a detective.
So when I joined, a very senior deputy chief, said to me, when you go into an investigation, go in to prove them innocent.
Wow.
prove them innocent. Because that way you're not biased. I don't go in thinking you're guilty or whatever. I go in to find evidence.
Do you think that's the way it is in the last decade?
No, I don't think it's been that. I don't think it's been that way in the last 30 years. But
Right. I agree with you.
Right.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think you go in with the presumption of guilt,
Yeah.
and you're trying to find evidence to confirm guilt, and you do the bare minimum to find out other evidence that may contradict their narrative.
Yeah, well, don't do it. Don't do that.
That's incredibly important. Talk to us a little bit about, because you had a distinguished career. So tell us about how you went about, where you started, where you ended, and why.
Well, I started with the intention, as opposed to Michael, because he's gone down the wrong path of being a defense counsel. He should have been a police officer, but
You went to high school together.
that's right.
That's why you're saying that.
Yes.
You were chums in high school.
That's right.
I wouldn't pass the fitness test, Chris. So
Right. and I started with the intent of saving everyone. I wanted to save everyone. And I realized after I got on the job, I can only look after one person at a time. And current attorneys, more than one, as a police officer, accused me of colluding with defense counsel,
Really?
which I thought was funny.
was that a type of cooking?
Yeah, right. So I was never colluding. I just knew when to walk away. Because there's something I read. I don't have a skill set, as you well know. I learned everything on television, but I think there's something that's called evidence, process of conviction. I read it somewhere.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, stuff, whatever that is. But more than one crown attorney has taken a run at me when I was a police, with colluding with
Defense
defense.
counsel.
And what did they mean by that? What is colluding with defense mean?
Because I got to say, a lot of the crown attorneys I've worked with over the years, I've enjoyed.
Me too.
But there are some that have a true belief and want convictions, period.
Regardless.
Well, some of them dig, and I've been around it. I know it. They dig their heels in, and not everyone can sustain paying for a defense. I've worked on cases where the client, well, he shouldn't have been charged to begin with, but anyways, he was charged. I approached the real police, and I gave them the option of that form. I said, you obviously had reasonable grounds at the beginning, and now here's what we found out. You no longer have reasonable grounds, and he ran up a bill of $250,000, and eventually walked away because of counsel. But who can sustain that nonsense?
Very few people.
You would have to play out to something that you did not do. You have to.
So what you're saying is, if you're up against the wall and you don't have the resources to fight, you're f***ed.
Exactly.
So let's dial that back a bit. So, your method of investigation is what I've always come to admire. And I have friends who are police officers, including you, where they have taken the approach that we are here to just investigate. If we find that the evidence we're given is not accurate, we're not going to lay a charge. And you operated by the basis that if you find that there is reasonable grounds, you'll lay it, but if later on they're lost, you'll not pursue it. You've met resistance on that. You agree with the fact that there are false allegations across the board. It happens.
Of course.
And sexual assault is no outlier. In other words, there are female complainants who will make allegations that are false. Is that a yes?
Of course.
Why are we in this difficulty? And this is philosophically, I guess, what I'm asking about. Because I've met a lot of officers who were good at their job. But not doing the investigation. not looking at messages, not interviewing. I mean, I had a case where there were like 17, I'm not joking, 17 witnesses to interview, where they had not only eyewitness evidence of what happened, but more detailed information, never interviewed. What the went wrong? And where did we lose the notion that we are supposed to investigate fully? What the happened?
It's let the courts decide. And so here's the thing.
But does that come from a government policy?
No.
Lack of funding?
No.
Lack of, are the police under too much pressure?
No.
What is it?
No, I'll tell you exactly what it is. It's apathy. It's I don't give a shit. It's on to the next case, and I'm getting paid X amount of dollars. And here's what I found, and you may not want to go down this road.
Which means we will.
We go down a lot of roads that
We're gonna
people
go
don't
down a lot
want
of
us to.
You don't go down this road.
We're fine with speed bumps. Don't worry.
Yeah. What I found just before I resigned, now retired.
Right.
Just before I resigned.
All right, I'll live with the resigned.
Right. It came down to budget. If you got in that uniform and you did your job in a police car and you made no arrests, you just took reports, did whatever, you're actually really good, because there's something that's called the sunshine list. So if you're making over 100 Gs or whatever, there's a sunshine list. So God forbid you made an arrest or you did a search warrant, that now you got to go to court. And now there's more money involved, and there's all this stuff going on. It was about the money. I've been involved, and this is really bad. As you don't care.
No, I do.
So
that's why you're here, my friend.
Yeah.
So my personal belief, and I've got proof. Everything I say to you is firsthand.
Okay.
Is the investigation of your murder is based on your socioeconomic status. So if you're homeless, if you're whatever, and no one actually gives a shit about your life, there's a budget. So homicide has a budget.
Well, yeah, I get that.
Whatever that looks like. And push comes to shove, I don't know what to say. I didn't know what.
So you're saying street person's a suicide, rich people are a homicide.
Well, the Shermans they didn't figure out, but they put a lot of resources into it. But I think that's fair. Look, everything's a budget. Right. Police services work within a budget, and there's only so much you can allocate.
Not when it comes to your investigation of your life. I'm sorry.
No, I agree. It shouldn't.
Yeah.
Nor sex assault, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, a sexual assault allegation or domestic in a high conflict divorce will have life-altering implications. And again, because I've been vilified by some lawyer and some other individuals who said that I was cringe and I was triggered by certain things.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Cringe?
I'm 56. I don't know what cringe is. Maybe Catherine can email me. Can you email me and tell me the definition of cringe?
Maybe it's a compliment and we don't even know.
No, I don't think I don't think she meant it as a compliment.
It didn't seem that
she's
way.
a very bright lawyer and
Probably not a compliment then.
No, I Catherine Marshall's a very bright lawyer, I'm sure, with a very wonderful firm, but maybe she can email me at joseph@nrlawyers.com or do it publicly and let me know the definition of cringe. This post is cringe. Right. But I think that's not, I don't think she was complimenting me.
I doubt that.
But my concern is that we're denying something that's real. We're all human beings. We live within a human system where we do the best we can within budgets and economics and allocation of resources and what we perceive as risk and non-risk. But there are certain offenses that are extremely serious. No doubt sexual assault is serious, domestic violence is serious, homicide is serious. But we operate within budgets. I do believe, contrary, you may disagree with me, that there's public policy here. I believe that government says, #we believe, you, lay the charges, you don't investigate.
Of course.
Take a statement.
Yes.
That's all you got to do.
Yeah, of course it's government policy. So that. As a police officer, you have an obligation to do the right thing.
So what you're saying is many officers don't have the balls to do what you did.
Yes.
I agree.
I wouldn't say they don't have the balls. It's tiring. It's tiring to take
it's tiring. It's tiring. I work a 78-hour week. You can ask my wife. I work 7 days a week these days. It's tiring to be in the system to do the right thing. But you signed up for this.
Well.
And you know what? I think police officers should be paid more. I think they should be resourced more. Because just like nursing and healthcare, this is what we need in our society. We need to resource them properly to do the work because it's detrimental to families. It's very hard to be a police officer and work the hours that you do and maintain a family, and you need to be compensated appropriately. But it's really important work.
Well, it is important work, but here's the thing. It's not about the money.
It's not, but you need money to survive, with all due respect.
Of course.
Right? You need to feed the family. You need to be able to have your home and do things. So it's compensation for your work, which is incredibly important because the power that police officers hold is incredibly transformative. When you charge an individual, that is the police officer's decision. In jurisdictions in the United States, that decision may be made by a district attorney or an assistant district attorney. Here it's made by the police officer.
So I'm going to disagree with you. I know, shocking. You can turn that thing off.
No, go ahead. Roll, baby.
Is if you're lazy as a police officer.
I understand.
Right? It doesn't matter how much you get paid. You're still lazy.
I get it.
You just are.
I agree with you. But I also believe that we undervalue,
Hang on a sec. You going to ask me to leave yet? Or?
Oh, no, yeah, you're good.
No,
You're good.
We're good.
But, my problem is this. We talk, like government talks about tough on crime because it's politically expedient. We have all these interest groups saying all these things, and we criminalize as much social issues as we can. Add another law, change the bail laws, blah, blah, blah. But we don't put enough resources in the system, and we don't allow people to be trained, and we don't provide for retention. How many senior officers stay in the service? They fucking retire. Why? Because it's not rewarding.
Well, my question is, how did they got that far to begin with?
Many don't last. And I've worked with amazing officers like you and in the homicide, and they're like, I'm not staying. They're like counting their time down like they're inmates.
But my view is you can't get that far unless you turn a blind eye to stuff. There's no way. As a detective.
Expand on that a bit more because you've said it, but I need you to say it again.
You can't get that far without turning a blind eye to stuff. I was just a detective. And the safest place to be in the police is a uniformed constable, a uniformed sergeant. Because
you're insulated.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get
it. Because that sergeant, that staff sergeant looks after those people who would do a great job. So I'm not, believe me, I'm far from anti-police. I still consider myself a police officer, which is, I don't know, it's like a priest. It's a bad analogy, but...
No, but you feel part of a brotherhood or a sisterhood or a personhood.
But I know from what I've seen, there is no way you can move further up the food chain if you don't turn a blind eye to stuff. So as much as I love most of the senior officers, I certainly have my opinions on those who I think need to go to jail. But as much as I love most of them, there's no way you can get that far up in the police department without turning a blind eye, which is Which gets back to the term stones. Like, have some stones.
So what you're saying then is, don't believe everything you read. Don't believe that just because somebody is charged, they're guilty. Think a bit deeper, because there may be other issues at play here and other pressures. And in fact, sloppy work may exist and people may be innocent. There can be wrongfully accused. And if policing really cared about what they were doing, they'd be putting in much harder work. Of
course. So here's what I'm going to leave you with.
Give us your parting comments and anything you want to say. Knock yourself out.
No, well, you obviously haven't poured me a second drink, so I
Hold on, you got a little bit there more, but I want to hear your wisdom, detective, former detective. I want to hear it.
Thank you. So here's what I'm going to leave you with, and this is for the police if they're looking at your podcast.
Yeah, some watch our podcast.
Maybe more after tonight.
We're not on different sides.
I agree.
The police, defense counsel, judges if you do your job properly, we're just on the same side. We are. It's just justice. And as you know, I was the in-house investigator for Eddie Greenspan and Todd White. And
may they both rest in peace.
Yes.
Sad losses.
And when I was with the police, Todd was my best friend, and we had cases together. And well, I'm not going to say he won all the time, but perhaps he did. It doesn't matter.
No, he did. He did.
It doesn't matter.
I was with him on a few trials.
But after we're on the same case.
Yeah.
And then what do? We go for dinner and drinks, because I did the best I could possibly do. He did the best he could possibly do. And it was just, it's called justice. That's all. Like, don't take police officers who is ever looking at this stuff, don't take stuff personally. It is not personal. And that's why I mentioned to you, the Crown attorneys who told me I was in collusion with defense. No. I just knew my limitations.
No, what you knew was what was right and wrong.
Yes.
And, Thursday night, Marcy and I are going out with a good buddy of mine who is a 33-year veteran of Toronto Police Service. We're having dinner. We met together in 1996 on a attempt murder case, and we've been friends ever since. Fought like hell, drank afterward. Those were good days.
Yeah.
Those were good days where you went out afterward with the officer and had a drink, talked about it, and also the Crown attorney. I don't see those days now. And I see a very different shift in the ethos of criminal justice. We really may battle in court, but ultimately we want to come to a fair conclusion. I don't see that anymore. And that worries me. So we need you back to talk more about this.
Thank you.
You'll come back? You're not scared of us yet?
I don't think people will like me to come back, but I'll certainly come back.
Oh, I think our viewers will like you to come back. Thanks, Chris. I really appreciate this.
Thank you so much.
And you've done a great service to the Toronto Police Service and to justice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Burr?
I don't like you.
I know.
We went to school together. How could you like him? He's got a full head of hair. I'm balding terribly up here. He's got like a full head of hair. Okay, so as the pillow says, Marcy, can you put it in just
throw him at us, yeah.
And you were a catcher?
I was. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Thank you very much. And what's great is in the last 2 weeks, we've had a lot of engagement. So you'll see us on X, formerly known as Twitter,
formerly as the Bluebird,
TikTok, etc. So send us your comments and questions, what you want to hear from. And I can't thank you enough, former Detective Downer. Like, thank you. This was great.
And just remember, I resigned. I didn't retire.
I know.
We know.
Okay.
I know.
Perfect.
You resigned appropriately.
Okay.
Send us questions for Chris, please.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.